welcome again to the Sarasota HubSpot User Group. Today, we are going to talk about building a website in the HubSpot CMS Hub. So with that, we'll go ahead and introduce ourselves. I'm Megan Sullivan. I am the Creative Director at Next to Me Marketing. Some fun facts about me: I am a newlywed. I just got married in March. I love painting and doing anything creative in my free time. Lately, that takes on the form of house projects. And I am a graduate of Lee University in Cleveland, Tennessee.
Hey, I'm Kalina Thompson, and I'm an account manager here at Next to Me. I graduated from the University of Florida. Go Gators. I'm also a pet parent to Phil the cat and Baloo the dog. They make quite a pair. And in my free time, I enjoy weightlifting and yoga and really anything that keeps me active.
So Kalina and I collectively have put somewhere between 50 and 100 websites live. We live, eat, sleep, breathe websites and could talk about this all day long, but we try to put together an agenda for you today that's super actionable, and you can take away with some really clear action items, whether you are just getting started with a website build, you're doing a website redesign, or you're looking just to make some improvements to your current site. Today, we're going to walk through number one, deciding on a structure, choosing a template. HubSpot has an incredible marketplace with a ton of great templates to choose from. It can be overwhelming, so we're going to talk through how to pick the template to use for your site, setting the foundation. Here, we're going to talk through the 3 things every successful website should have. And then hopefully at the end, we'll have some time for question and answer. We do have some team members monitoring the chat during this webinar today. So at any point, if you have questions, they will be replying with resources and also bookmarking those for our question and answer time at the end. So with that, we are going to get right into it, deciding on a structure. This is the first and probably most crucial piece that's going to set you up for success in your website build, is deciding what content should live on my site and how should all of this content connect and work together to put together a comprehensive website. So where to start when thinking through site structure, first and most importantly, is to understand the goals of your site. So getting really clear on what are your site's goals. Is it to, increase awareness, improve customer experience, generate more leads, schedule more visits, get more quotes? Probably it's a little bit of everything I just said and then some, but getting really clear on the specific goals that you have for your site that align with your business goals and your business needs. Then making sure that absolutely everyone who's involved in the website project is also really clear on those goals is going to set you up for success and help make the rest of the site structure come together really fluidly. So from there, once you established your goals, what we recommend doing is indexing every single page that exists on your current site. This is more for if you're looking for a redesign, or if you have an existing site that you're looking to maybe restructure and make some improvements. A lot of people come to us and they say, hey, we just have a really simple 10-page website. It's going to be easy redesign. And we do our due diligence and crawl the site. And we come back and say, hey, there's actually 1,000 URLs connected to your domain. So this is just a really important piece, because every single URL that is associated with your domain that's being indexed by Google is potentially ranking and hurting your value. You potentially have old content, outdated content that no longer aligns with your goals. So we use a tool called Screaming Frog to do this, but you can also use Google Analytics. If your entire site's hosted in HubSpot, you can use your HubSpot data. If you want to take a quick look right now at what this looks like for your site, you can type into Google site:yourdomain.com. and it'll pull up a Google search of all of your website URLs. So from there, what you want to do once you have this master list of every page associated with your site, you want to take a look at that compared to the goals that you've set for your site, and how do these pages fit in the goals that you're trying to work towards. Some of them might be outdated or no longer relevant. Some of the content could be repurposed or reused. Every single URL that you are seeing that is crawled and associated with your domain is going to need to be accounted for in some way on your new site, whether that's redirected, repurposed, or redesigned. So getting a really clear understanding of what is existing on your site is an important piece. Learning how to restructure this in something that makes sense for your business goals and your new website. From there, you want to collect all available data. And luckily, if your site's already hosted in the HubSpot CMS, you have access to more data than you probably know what to do with. For starters, I would recommend exporting or looking into some of your website analytics. You can see things like, page view, how many from the last year, how many page views has each page on your website got? Bounce rate, are the people going to that page and then leaving really quickly because maybe that content's not relevant? You can see how long they're spending on each of those pages. You can see if you're gathering any contacts or collecting any leads from these pages. What I would recommend looking at first and foremost is the top 10 pages that are most viewed on your current site. And then saying, okay, do these make sense? How are these pages performing? Are these pages have high views, but also high bounce rates? So people are going to these pages and leaving quickly. Maybe that content is not relevant and you should think about how you can restructure or repurpose the content on that page. If you have Google Analytics, you have access. This front screenshot here is a screenshot of a Google Analytics behavior flow. And this is a really cool chart that actually shows you how users flow through your site, where they click to, where they land on your site, where they typically go to from there, and then so on and so forth. So understanding how users are engaging with your current site to take away making assumptions. A lot of times when we're doing websites and we're doing website redesigns or designs in general, we have to make a lot of assumptions, and as much of that we can actually eliminate and pull from real-time data of our actual website users is going to help set you up for success with this new design. So collect your data, and then from there, ask. Again, as little assumptions as we can make is going to help us make a website that is accurate to our users' needs. So talk to your sales team, ask them what the top 10 questions they get asked every single day are. Talk to your current customers about how they engage with your website. What did they like about your site? What were elements of your site that they said, hey, we wish this was easier to find, or we wish something like this existed on a site like yours. Talk to ideal buyer personas about what they might expect to find on a site that has a product or service like your business is. From there, keep it simple. The most sort of messes we see that people come to us with crazy websites is because they overcomplicate their site structure and their page linking. What we recommend is to keep it as simple as possible. This not only makes it easier on you, but it makes it easier for a user to actually understand and navigate your site. You want to reduce the calories that someone has to spend when they're going to your site to understand who you are and what they're looking at in your business and on your website. So your navigation is a really important piece when it comes to your site structure, and your navigation is the top menu that's on the very top of your website with some items of where someone can navigate to. This is really important not only for a user experience, but also for SEO. This is sort of the top dog of what you're telling Google, this is what my site is about, these items. So some do's and don'ts here. Number one, prioritize consistency. The navigation should be the true north for a user. I shouldn't be able to get to a page and then see a completely different navigation. It creates weird funnels where I don't know where I'm going and where to get back to where I'm from. They should always know, me as a user should always know where I am, where to go next, and how to get back to where I was. And the easiest way to do this is keep your navigation super consistent from look and feel to practically having it exist the same way on every single page, with the exception of maybe a landing page that doesn't have navigation. From there, use your user's vocabulary. Your navigation is not the place to get cutesy or overly branded with your language. For example, if you are a retirement community and you have assisted living section of your community called the Chateau, don't put the Chateau in your main menu, put assisted living, because that's what your users are looking for. Then once they click on that page, introduce the Chateau or whatever your branded terminology is. Once a user already gets to that page, that's going to make it easier for a user, and then also it's going to increase your SEO ranking, because if that's the terminology your users are using, that's what they're searching. Next, this is hopefully obvious, but don't bury important information. This is a really good time to take the data you've collected and the questions you've asked to your sales team and your customers about what information users actually care about, and keep it really clear and make it easier for them to access. Don't make me work to find the information I'm wanting to find on your site. And this can be as granular as maybe the About Us shouldn't be the first item in your navigation. Chances are, before I care about you and your company, I want to learn about your product or your service that is going to help to meet my needs. Lastly, avoid deep navigation. I was a little bit kind here. What I would like to say is avoid drop-downs altogether when possible. When your navigation is, 3, 4, 5 layers deep, it makes it really complicated and messy for me as a user to understand the structure of your site and how I'm supposed to flow through. So when possible, don't bury your keywords or your main services under a service tab. Pull them out into your main menu, and make it easier for me, again, to get to the information that I want to get to. And your navigation menu, there's a lot of studies about, how much your brain can retain. 7, no more than 9, but 5 to 7 is how many items you want to keep in your main menu. And just keep it simple. Again, avoid deep navigation from there. I want to take some time to talk about growth-driven design. This is a concept that we use on absolutely all of our website builds. And the thought behind growth-driven design is to set a website live and then make continuous improvements to that website based on real users' data. So set a website live in 6 to 8 weeks, see how that website performs, understand and analyze the heat maps and the data and the page views of a user on the actual site. Then make improvements and iterations to that site from there. Traditional website design usually looks something like, a 12 to 16 week launch with wireframes, and it's a top to bottom redesign where you try to get it as close to perfect as possible. And the problem with that is you have to make a lot of assumptions, right, when you're putting this together. But if you do a growth-driven website design, you can set a site live and then iterate and iterate and iterate over time. So by the time you hit that 16-week mark, you already have a site that's really functional and working really well based on actual data you're able to gather. If you want to learn more about how to implement this, HubSpot has a really great resource, an academy course all about growth-driven design and how the CMS sets you up for success when implementing this model.
All right, so next in your website design process, you'll want to choose a template. So first things first, what is a template? Meg, next slide.
Right, let me go, yeah.
So a template is the coded version of your website framework. So this means it's the HTML and CSS that work together to make your site look and function the way you want it to. In HubSpot, you'll get access to a set of templates when you download a theme. Themes are relatively new to HubSpot, so let me define a theme next. They are a set of coded templates, modules, and global content and theme settings that you can use to create and manage your website content and layout and style without having to touch any of the backend code or mess with any HTML or CSS. This, again, makes it really easy for the marketer to feel empowered of their website and really be able to be in control of any edits or changes without having to, again, rely on a developer or someone who has more of an in-depth understanding of the code. So next are some of the pros of using a HubSpot template. First and foremost, it's going to save you a lot of time and money up front. When you start your site build with a pre-coded template, you don't have to spend that time or money on setting up the basic aspects of the site to really get it looking and functioning the way you want. Instead, you get to just jump right into the customizations and the content and really making it feel like your own site. You, again, don't have to spend any of that time on the initial setup and style and functionality, because that's exactly what a template already provides you. Another pro is that the HubSpot templates are already coded to be responsive. So this means that you, again, don't have to spend the time and money and energy worrying about manually coding the tablet and mobile versions of your site. As users increasingly use the web to browse the internet, it's really important that you make sure that your website responds and adapts to the various screen sizes so that you're not left with funky text that gets cut off or an image that doesn't really quite fit. It really keeps your site looking clean and put together no matter what version or desktop your users are viewing it on. Another great pro of a HubSpot template is that it has built-in security to make sure that your site is protected as possible. HubSpot websites come with a built-in SSL certificate, which means that your users' data is going to be kept secure and safe. It'll verify the ownership of your website and just in general prevent any attackers from getting into the data of your site. Lastly, it's a really great user interface. The themes have a really simple drag and drop editor. So again, the marketer can feel empowered to make whatever changes they need on their website, whether it's swapping an image or adjusting some text, or maybe adding in a whole new section. So some things to take into consideration when you're building your site. It's really important that you go into the design process having a general understanding of what your site needs before you make that template or theme choice. So some things to think of are, first, what is your brand style? Are you more of a modern look, or maybe you like to keep it more classic and traditional? Either way, the HubSpot marketplace is going to have a variety of templates or themes that can fit your style. So you'll just want to make sure that you choose one that, again, aligns with the look of your brand so that you don't have to do any more custom coding to make it really fit your needs. You'll also want to make sure that you pay attention to what pages you're going to need. So in addition to the usual homepage or about us or contact us, think about what service pages you might need, or what kind of layout you're looking for that you can accurately represent your content in, and make sure you choose a template that has these pages already created. You'll also want to pay attention to what modules you might need. So think about kind of how you want your content to be laid out on the individual pages. Maybe that you've got a lot of really beautiful photography that you'd like to display in some photo galleries, or maybe you're looking to display your content in an accordion or a compare and contrast tables. If you go into the template, or if you start looking for a template and you already have an idea of how you want your layout or your content to look, you can make sure that you're choosing a template that already has some of those assets and styles set up, again, saving you that time and energy from creating it from scratch. Last but not least, you'll of course want to be thinking about budget. The HubSpot marketplace has a wide range of offerings. You can download items that are free or even up to $1,500. But either way, it's a really accessible marketplace for a variety of different budgets. So here on your screen, you've got two examples of websites, and although they look drastically different now, they both originated from the same template. So just know that even when you're starting from a templated place, you can really make iterations and adjustments that can make the site feel like your own and be really unique to you and your needs.
Awesome. So we're going to get into setting a foundation in here. We're just going to talk about the 3 things you need for a successful site. So without further ado, the 3 things, number 1, are a call to action. You want to have it be really easy for a user or prospect to do business with you. Number 2, user-driven messaging. You want to make sure you're talking actually to your audience and not just at your audience. And then lastly, on-page or technical SEO for your website. If you do absolutely everything else correctly, but no one can actually search or find your site, then we've missed it. So we want to make sure we get some of those pieces right as well. So with that, call to actions, and this is, I would highly recommend, if you haven't got anything actionable out of this project yet, this webinar yet, this is something that you can take away and do right now on your site, and it will make a huge impact. If you do not already have an obvious invitation for prospects to do business with you, whether that be buy now, register today, sign up, schedule an appointment, make an order, call, whatever it is, the first step for me as a user to take to do business with you, if that's not really obvious in some kind of call to action on your site, that's a missed opportunity for you on your website, and it makes it easier on me as the user to know, okay, I'm ready, I'm sold, what action do I need to take to go from here? So some call to action pro tips. Number one, keep it consistent. So a lot of times people on their site will say, let's talk, schedule a call, get started. And it all goes to the same page, the same place. And what you're doing is you're wasting calories for me as a user. My brain is taking time trying to figure out what's the difference between these buttons. And so there's some studies that say your brain needs to see something about 8 times before it registers it. So you're kind of taking away from that brain power when you're changing up this button on me, instead of just having it be consistent. Buy now, buy now, buy now. Okay, I know the next step I need to take when I'm ready is to buy now. So we would recommend actually going so far as to keeping this button consistent from not only copy, but also color. So choosing, obviously I'm a designer, so keep it, brand friendly and cohesive with your site, but choosing a color that is only used for this button, and none of the other buttons on your site are styled the same type of way. Is going to help to just seal in that brain registering your button. Number 2, use clear and direct messaging. Don't be wishy-washy. Be clear about what action you want me to take. Buy now, schedule, make a request a demo, whatever it may be. Be direct with your verbiage. Number 3, have a call to action in the top right in the center of your page. I'll go back here. So you can see we're big fans of StoryBrand here. So that's the example I've put up. But you can see that register now on the top right corner, and then register now right in the center above the fold is really clear and good real estate that my eye is going to be immediately drawn to. So if you don't already have your call to action, your main direct call to action in these 2 places, that's something I would recommend doing right after this webinar. It's a small change you can make with big impact. So from there, repeat it often. Don't only have it in those 2 places. Like I said, 8 times. So you're going to want to keep repeating that call to action where relevant throughout the page. Lastly, you might have some transitional or top of the funnel call to action. So this might be watch a video, or download our FAQs, or download our brochure. I would recommend making that button look a little bit different. You can see in this example, if we have our orange buy now button, then maybe our watch video is, an outline, or maybe a different color that's a little bit less attention grabbing. So I know the hierarchy of steps that you want me to take as a user.
All right, so the second piece that all successful websites have is user-driven messaging. You want to make sure it's easy for your visitor to understand why they should want your offer and how it can help them achieve their goals. So first things, you want to make sure that your message is really clear. That first text that users see on your site, that header text, you want to make sure it's a clear and concise explanation of what you offer and how it can help your visitor. Again, like Megan said, you want to make sure that your user can understand your offer as quickly as possible with as little brain power as possible, so that they don't need to waste any of that energy trying to figure out what you mean because you used too wordy of a header text. Throughout the rest of the site, you'll want to make sure you follow that similar idea and keeping your content really simple, relevant, and repeatable. That will help the user really easily digest, again, what you do and what you can offer them. If you make your users have to sift through too many wordy paragraphs, it's going to make it more difficult for them to get to the core of your message and really understand, again, what you can offer them and how you can make their life better. So again, we're big believers in the StoryBrand ideology, and one of the main points that this book gets across is make sure that you organize your information in a story framework and set the visitor as the hero of the story, as the main character. So really, when you're putting together your website content, think of it as if you're writing a story about how your offering can help the user, the visitor, achieve their goals. Keep in mind that you want to, again, choose verbiage that sets the user at the center of the story and makes it about them versus about you. So we've got 2 examples coming up here. You'll see they're both talking about Lily's Pet Care. It's a dog care facility service. but one follows the story brand framework and the other doesn't. So if we start up here in the top left corner, it says, welcome to Lily's Pet Care, family owned and operated since 1994, with a little bit more descriptor text underneath. In the lower example, which is a story brand example, it gets, again, that header text is really clear and concise and to the point. A pet care retreat that you and your dog will love, helping your dog live their best life. So when you compare the two different pieces of copy on these sites, one positions the Lily's Pet Care as the main character in the story by really talking about them, whereas the bottom example positions the user as the hero of the story and make sure that they're going to understand in just a few seconds what they can get when they choose to work with you. Again, the story brand framework on the bottom, it has these two CTAs that are bold and bright, so you know exactly where to go to do the next step to do business with this company. In the first example, it's not really clear where you can go to work with the company, and this makes the user have to work just a little bit too hard to get to, again, your end goal of having them book with you or work with you. Main point here is just making sure that you, right off the bat, set the visitor as the hero of the story and really make it about them so that they can see how your offer, your product or service will impact their life and help them reach their goals.
Awesome. And just a little pro tip here too. We actually recommend, if possible, website pages that can be 10 sentences long often perform the best. Obviously, that's not possible in all cases, but just to hit it home, as little information, people are skimmers today. So as quickly and concisely as you can say what you're trying to say, the better. So yeah, thanks. That's awesome. Keep your users messaging in language they understand. From there, your website and SEO. Like I said before, if you do absolutely everything else right, but no one can actually find or locate your website when they're searching for your services, that's a huge missed opportunity there. So luckily, if you're hosted in HubSpot already, they make it super simple for you to have really good, clean and clear SEO on all of your website pages. On-page SEO is the process of optimizing various front-end and back-end components of your website so that it ranks in search engines and brings in new traffic. If you haven't already, where I'd recommend you starting with this is HubSpot actually has an SEO, that back screenshot there is an SEO recommendations tab, and you can actually run a report where HubSpot will crawl all of your website pages and they will make recommendations for maybe you have missing meta descriptions or you have two H1s on a page or some of this technical talk. They'll make it really clear and actionable for you on every single page on your site. So if you haven't done this already, this is a place I'd recommend you starting, is going ahead and running that report and making those edits to your page. So from here, we're going to talk through key elements of website SEO, and a lot of what we've already talked about with structure and making your website really user-friendly is going to play a big piece in this, because Google actually wants to be really helpful for people who are searching your site. So they want to make it easy for a user to get to a site and get the information they need. So as much as possible that your site can be answering users' questions quickly and concisely and solving for the user, that is going to help your ranking authority to grow. But some other key sort of technical elements here that you can do for your website's SEO are, number one, page size and speed. You need to make sure that you're compressing all of your images as you put them on the page. If you have crazy large videos on your site, you're going to want to make sure you resize these so that way your page is loading quickly. If I'm on Google and I go to your site and it takes 10 seconds to load, I'm going to get frustrated and probably go away and go to another site that gives me my information more quickly. Number two, you want to make sure you have a clear HTML structure set up. Again, HubSpot makes this super easy. In every single website page, there's an optimized tab before you go to publish that will give you a checklist of if you have all of these things set up correctly. You want to make sure every page has a meta description. It has alt text on all your images, so you're labeling all your images correctly. the image is representing. You want to have only one H1 on every single page, and then you want to have H2s, H3s, H4s from there. And you want to have a really clear URL structure that accurately represents what your page is. So again, just make sure on the Optimize tab when you're going to publish a page, all of those things are green and ready to go before you set that page live. Next, mobile responsive. It's really important that your site is optimized for mobile particularly, but all devices. Google takes this into account since a lot of people, like Kalina said, are searching on their phone. You want to make sure that you're testing every single page on your phone after you're publishing. And again, HubSpot's templates are coded really friendly, so they make this super easy on you because there's not a lot of extra legwork that you need to take to make these sites mobile responsive. But again, just testing and taking the extra step to make sure every page is looking pristine and clear on mobile. From there, security. Like Kalina said, again, HubSpot makes this really easy on you with all pages being HTTPS secured, but you want to make sure that all of that is enabled for all your pages so that Google is increasing your page ranking and your page authority. With that, we are going to go into question and answer. So we will keep our eyes on the chat for any questions you guys have as they come in. We'll be happy to answer them and get answers to you quickly. I also do want to note, probably Gabriel will be putting in, we have a website grader on our site where you can actually put your website in and we'll give you a score based on how well your website's currently performing. We analyze things like page speed, performance, etc. And then we'll give you some actionable items of what to do from there. It's a HubSpot engine, and it makes it really easy to take steps to improve your website, score, SEO, optimization. Yeah, I think Gabriel just sent over the link. So if you want to take a second right now as well, as we're answering some questions, to go ahead and grade your website and get a score. Kalina, if you want to take this one, Gabriel's asking, what's the difference between HubSpot templates and themes?
So templates are kind of the old version of how you would build a site, and that comes with the design manager in the back end where you can drag and drop, rich text modules to create the site you want. HubSpot is now using what are called themes, which is kind of like a broader spectrum. So themes allow you to make site-wide edits, again, maybe if it's a color or a font or something like that, to the full site all in one place. And they're using the drag and drop editor, again, to really empower marketers to be able to make all of these edits and change the layout by themselves. So themes come with, themes are the overall the package, and within a theme are templates for the home page, a template for the About Us page, a template for the Contact Us page. So it's kind of one big group that can be edited in one place.
Samantha's asking, if a website is very image heavy, what would you suggest sizing the images to in order to minimize page size and optimize speed? Yeah, so there's a ton of image compressor tools online that we recommend using. A lot of times people are just downloading images from, Big Stock or whatever their stock image licenses are, and those images are typically huge. So we always recommend keeping a 72 resolution, and typically no larger than 1200 pixels, whether that be width or height, especially for header images. Sometimes in smaller places you can definitely get away with sizing an image a little bit smaller based on where it lives on the site, but for sure running your images through an image compressing tool, and you can just Google image compressor. There's a ton of free ones that will be able to compress those images really quickly, and then you can upload a clean version of that image onto your site and increase that speed there. There's also tools like Pingdom where you can put your website page and run a test, and it'll show you the specific images that are larger on the page, and you can know where to focus when you're compressing those images, which ones to start with. Gabriel asks, what else? What about backup sites? Is that necessary with HubSpot? HubSpot has actually great storage of sites. So we don't typically have backup sites with our HubSpot sites. That's not something that we take into consideration. You can download the complete HTML version of your website with HubSpot, but it's a really secure and trustworthy and uptime platform. So that's not something that we have as a part of our process with our HubSpot websites. We really trust HubSpots and haven't had any issues with, sites going down. They have, I think, a 99-something% uptime for all of their sites. Yes. So in HubSpot, there is, someone's asking, is there a staging environment available before publishing updates to the website? In HubSpot, there is something called content staging. So if you go down to website pages and then you navigate through to content staging, you can stage complete pages, you can stage whole entire sites. And then when you're ready to publish them, it's just, it's like a HubSpot sandbox link that the page will populate on. Then when you're ready to publish them, you can just publish them and that URL will go live. So they have a really nice staging environment, which is where we build all of our sites in. So that way we can completely link and test the site fully together before we're setting it live within a staging environment. Great question. Is there a storage limit in terms of how much we can upload, files, different types, video, PDFs, images, etc.? This is something I'm not sure of, which makes me think that the storage limit, if there is one, is very large because we haven't run into this issue with any of our HubSpot current sites having large file sizes. We host all of our videos. We use a tool called Wistia to host our videos. So that's sort of the bulk of the large files we have on our site, and those are hosted elsewhere and embedded. But this is not something, I'm not sure if Gabriel, you can find a quick HubSpot knowledge base here, but I'm going to say if there is a file size, it's very large because this is not an issue we have run into. Yes, we're big fans of Wistia Analytics, and Wistia has an incredible HubSpot integration where you can see a ton of cool data. So we're big Wistia fans, so we're partners with them over here. Yeah, Kara's sending over some additional info here. Says, while there's no strict size limit for files uploaded to the files tool, it's recommended that you upload files below 1 GB in size. And that kind of goes along with what we're saying is you want to keep your site, you want to keep the bulk of your site really, really light, and especially all the files and elements you're adding. But yeah, they're awesome with storage, and we haven't run into that. Gabriel's asking, what else can you do to optimize your site for speed? You definitely want to make sure everything on your site is super compressed and is functioning super quickly. Also lightening the load. If you have a lot of images or videos on your site, getting rid of some of that. There's some coding things that go into how fast your site goes. So some of the back-end technical elements, which most of the templates make this pretty user-friendly, but you want to make sure you have really clean and clear code going into your site. So Google's not having to pull a lot of extra data when loading your pages. So that's a big piece of it as well. We really recommend when you're looking at site speed, specific elements that tools like the website grader can tell you specifically about what is slowing your site down. Making sure everything's HTTPS secure as well. Doesn't play as much into speed, but making sure your site's getting loaded really quickly and securely. Give a second for any other questions. We'd love to, if there are specific website topics you guys want to hear more about in the future as we do more of these workshops, we want to make them as tangible for you as possible. So if there's something we touched on today that you would love to know more about, please pop that in the chat as well. Tom says, can we export a HubSpot database for peace of mind? Yes, you can export your HubSpot database. So you have all of that stored as well. Kara can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe you can export your HubSpot database if you're wanting to have that on your end as well. Can we build members only areas using HubSpot website CMS? Yes, you are able to build. There's some higher, if you're talking about having sort of a login functionality or feature of the site, there is a higher HubSpot plan required for that. So I believe that's an enterprise functionality. It is something that's possible within HubSpot. on a higher package, you absolutely can create sort of login experiences. In the basic website CMS, you can do something like password protected pages. So you can create a unique password that a user would need to access to get into a specific page. So that's also some workarounds for creating those types of experiences inside HubSpot as well. And yeah, Gabriel's confirming for me here. You can export your database and a backup version of your website in HTML format. Yes, we will have a recording of this, and we will also be sending out a follow-up email with some great resources. So some of the things we mentioned today, and if you have specific questions or want to book a meeting with Nextany and talk more, or email Kalina or I about specific questions, we'd be happy to answer any of those we can. But we will send out a recording of this, as well as some of the resources we mentioned. We'll send out links for those. Is there a limit of what it can do with HubSpot, like a mega menu like I normally do in WordPress? So this is what Kalina was talking about with templates. You're going to want to, if you have those specific functionalities in mind and you're wanting something more comprehensive or complex, and you don't want to work with a developer to custom code this for you, there are definitely templates that have mega menus and all sorts of features within HubSpot. So that's the kind of thing I would make a list of your dream features on your site. So, mega menu, any animation, stuff like that. And then look specifically for a template that includes those. If not, this is always something you can work with a developer to create. But if it doesn't come natively in the template, it's not going to be styled on your site. Obviously, there is menus in every single template you download, so you can create multiple layers of menus, but something like that, you're going to want to keep your eyes out for as you're selecting your template there. Yeah, and Gabriel is sending over some information if you want to contact us directly with any other specific questions, or even if you want to send us your site and we can give you, some tips of how we might improve it, give you your grader score. From there, we'd love to be a resource as much as possible to you guys. All right, with that, we are going to go ahead and end this. Thank you guys so much. Have a great day. And we have a video hug coming up this Thursday, I believe. So please register for that. Our video team is incredible, and we'll have a ton of awesome information about video and video resources. So please register and attend that. Thank you so much for being a part of our HubSpot community. And again, if you have absolutely any questions, do not hesitate to reach out for us. Thanks so much, guys. Have a great one.
See ya.